as best I can remember, the way that I went into the service, I enlisted as a buck private, but I was all lined up to. This is one of the longest enlistment times of anybody I ever heard of. Because from this day, all my life when I was a teenager and everything, I made model airplanes and I read about the World War I fighters and all that. And all this thought it'd be a good way for me to go if I could get into that. And I went down to the enlistment place and I found out that what I needed, and this was shortly after the bomb, when I was young. I'd already quit high school and gone back. No, I hadn't gone back. I quit high school the day I was 16. And well, I made a big mistake. I didn't know what I was going to take, and I moved into Boston. And my brother had, in the previous time we lived in Boston, my brother had gone to the High School of Commerce, which is just what it was, strictly business. And my first year there, which was my sophomore year in high school, the first thing I noticed is that I'm probably in the wrong field here was when first quarter of the year, God, I flunked bookkeeping. Excuse me. But on my birthday, my 16th birthday, this happens to we're talking together now, it's on my 91st birthday.
Yeah.
On my 16th, my mother came down to the school and see the headmaster with me. I remember this was Joe.
That would have been 1939.
Was it 1939?
Yep. That you would have turned 16.
Yeah, true. But old Joe Downey there, he was kind of an old crotchety guy, but a good guy, headmaster of the school. He says, I've been expecting this. He said, I try to talk you out of it, but I think you've been planning it for a while. So I just encourage you to pick it up again next year and see how you feel. And I thanked him. He's a good guy. One thing else I do remember is he used to get letters from Fred Allen, who was a graduate in the high school.
Well, they must have been a prize.
Fred Allen, anybody that ever looked at this and is very young, he was a top comedian on the radio.
He was very clever with words.
He was very clever, he used to send letters to Joe Downey, the headmaster that he knew quite well, And he always typed them, and he never used capitals. I don't think he knew where the shift level was on a typewriter. He was always humorous in his letters, and they'd always wound up on the bulletin board at school. But anyway, this was all leading up to the fact that I had been getting very much interested in trying to get into the aviation cadet thing. I did get a little booklet from the enlistment people in Boston, and it was disappointing to me because the minimum educational requirement was at least 2 years of college or its equivalent. Well, I didn't have a whole lot of education at this point, but I did go back to school since I was still 16 years old when September came along. But I went to a different high school where I enrolled in the college course, and they tried to beat me out of my program. At the end of the year, they didn't want to give me credit for 2 math courses I took. I took Algebra 1, Plane Geometry, which was Math 2, gave both of them, and I passed both of those very nicely. And then they said I couldn't take credit for 2 math courses, because algebra was math 1 in the first year of high school, and the other one was math 2, and I couldn't do that.
Bureaucratic hoo-ha.
Anyway, I got credit for it. And I went back to school in September up at the high school, Brighton High School. And I took all the subjects that the Air Corps, Army Air Corps, insisted that they were going to test me on.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years of high school would probably be enough, I figured. And I went in and took the exam, which was 150 questions of all kinds of
This is for the
things.
cadet program?
Hmm?
The exam for the cadet program?
Yeah. And you had to have at least 90 of the questions correct. And I didn't fool around with the thing. If it was something I really didn't know, I didn't guess. I just left it and I went on. But I got 106 right.
Great.
And there was a lot of tough questions in there that I ate them up, because they had to do with aviation, which I was constantly reading about.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did not pass the physical, because that was also a stiff requirement. In my case, I was underweight by 13 pounds.
Wow.
I was 5'11" high, and I weighed 122 pounds. I needed 13 pounds, and they would not pass me underweight.
Yeah.
So I used to walk over to Commonwealth Avenue where the enlistment station was for that. And every Saturday I go over there. All my friends tried to fatten me up. They were all getting fat, and I wasn't changing a bit. Of course, I was smoking cigarettes back then, too. And I got in there one day, instead of 135, I stepped on that scale, and it was full of water and potatoes and anything else that I thought would be heavy. And I used to have a big dinner and then walk over there and go to the men's room after I got off the scale. But I finally got up within 1 pound, and the doctor that was measuring me, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Son, you just passed, except for the 1 pound, and I'm going to give it to you. You tried hard." Just go in there every day. They'd say, "Get off the scale. Here's weight." It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
That took a long time.
Yeah.
But that very day, they took me in the back room and swore me in, and that was November, I think it was the 18th of November. I still have the original card for that I became a member of the United States Army with a rank of private. And they gave me that and said, "You are now in the Army Reserve, unassigned, and you can go home now." This was November, and they said, "You can stay home for about 5 months and we'll call you." I left for basic training on the 30th of January, 1943.
Let me stop this for a minute and then restart it, because it's going to be